everybody, welcome back to my channel, and welcome to my February 2022 reading vlog. Since this month is the shortest month of the year, my mini challenge for myself was to just read books that I already have in my house and that I own, the only exception being an audiobook that I got to listen to for the month. That audiobook is A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson. It is a recent book about Dracula's wife. I assume it so far is just a vampire has made himself a wife and is now dealing with his life. I'm about a quarter of the way into it. I'm really liking the audiobook so far. I think that the descriptions in it are very, very well written, and I do like the narrator, but so far I don't really have a grasp of what the story is doing, and I hope I enjoy it. So far, so good. And then my next book that I will be reading this month is for my 100 Epic Reads poster, and that is The Little Prince. I have to figure out how to say the author's name before I try and say it, but it's a little kid book, and it's apparently philosophical. I hope I don't get annoyed or bored by it. All the philosophy books on the poster so far have been duds for me, so we're gonna see how this one goes. It's short enough, it's a kid's book, hopefully I enjoy it. So that is my beginning update for the month so far. Join me as I pick out other books soon. Hello, this is just a quick update to say that I have finished A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson. I ended up giving the book 5 stars. I really enjoyed listening to the audiobook. I thought the narrator did a very good job going through that really nice prose and style of writing that was very descriptive but not too flowery. I was really compelled by the characters, their relationships. I think that all vampires personally should be queer and polyamorous. I really liked that dynamic. No one was shamed for any of their desires, and none of the relationships were fetishized specifically. They all were heavily romanticized by the main character. My only miniature problem with the book is that it is being sold as a Dracula retelling, and there is no allusion to the original novel in any way, not even like a hint or a description. The time jump immediately skips past the 19th century and enters the 20th century, so I was just a little bit bothered by it being sold as a Dracula retelling when there wasn't really any clues given to say that it was. They all seemed to be original characters, and if it was marketed as just a vampire and his bride's story, I would have just been fine with it too. So I don't understand why it was considered a Dracula retelling, but that's just me. The book is really good. I do actually want to own a copy of it someday. That's how good it is. So 5 stars for A Dowry of Blood. I have also finished The Little Prince, but I talk about that in my other vlog. And I am currently reading Eclipse by Stephanie Meyer because, as you know, I am reading the Twilight Saga for the first time. Unfortunately, that means that I will be also talking about that book in another video. So I am at a stalemate right now. I can't talk about any of the books that I've read aside from this one. So look forward to me discussing what I'm reading next. Fuck. Hello there. I'm finally updating after quite a long time of me not doing so. I apologize for that. Let's just say that the second Twilight video that I've been filming currently has taken a lot out of me. It has taken up a lot of my reading time for this month, which I wasn't expecting, but I'm here to update you on the new book that I'm finally reading. So I have already read Eclipse and Breaking Dawn by Stephanie Meyer, which you will see in a later video, but I am currently reading The Maidens by Michaelides. I am about 100 pages into it so far, and it is about a therapist who is going to her niece's school, Oxford, because her friend has just been murdered. And so far, it's not very good. I don't know if this is just my infancy in reading thrillers, but everything is very psychoanalytical. I understand that the character herself is a group therapist, but you don't need to psychoanalyze everybody around you. You don't need to explain why they are the way they are because of their parents or a traumatic upbringing. And you don't need to describe everything in a very, clinical way. It just seems like a very cheaply written description where all of the characters have something suspicious about them, that no matter what, they are suspicious, which is just like, okay, can you set up the characters and let me come to the conclusion of who I think is more uncomfortable or who is more likely to be the villain. Not to mention the book is getting broken apart by these weird, different perspectives of the killer, who is explicitly saying, I am the villain, mwahaha! I don't need that. I would honestly just rather stay in the protagonist's mind as she tries to figure things out. I don't need the killer's perspective as he's writing down his own psyche and his own, oh, I'm so evil, I'm the killer, I have the sane man inside my mind, but he can't come out. Ugh. And I was hoping for more aspects of Greek myth. The book itself is supposed to feature these students who follow a professor around obsessively, which I find to be a compelling thing. Thank you, The Secret History. But that book didn't even do that. The back of that book is misleading. So I wonder if the back of this book is also going to be misleading. So we will see as I go. So that is my current update for now. Hello. So, I am about 75% of the way through The Maidens by Michaelides, and I don't know if this is just me being sort of a newcomer into the thriller genre or not. I've basically only read Gillian Flynn and a few scattered thrillers. I don't like this book. I think that every single character does not need to have a Freudian explanation for why they could possibly be the killer. I don't understand why everyone is so hostile towards the main character. I mean, yes, she is butting in on everybody's business, but that's what the protagonist of a thriller does. Everyone's just being very hostile. Everything ties back to the parents because, Freud is a god of psychoanalytics. everything every character says is a metaphor or tying back to the theme of the book of grief and sacrifice, and all the murders are very, metaphorical, and they tie back to Greek myth, and everything the professor lectures about isn't actually for the academic advantage of his students. No, it's to serve a metaphor. And every single male character that is introduced is obsessed with the protagonist. It's just a lot. It's not that compelling. I honestly wish that the point of view of the story was from the Maidens themselves and their relationship with their professor, instead of having this outsider come in and project everything. I just hate when a synopsis of a book sounds better in your head, and then when you actually get down to reading it, you're a little bit disappointed. I'm especially bothered by everyone on Goodreads who puts a review before the book is even out and says, I'm gonna love this book no matter what because it has blank and blank and blank. Like, they should have their own separate, column, not in reviews, but in, maybe it could be called reactions to when a book is introduced, or the cover is announced, or the plot is announced. Give them a separate tab on the side that showed the reactions to when a book was coming out. It's not a review if they haven't read it. Anyway, mini rant over for that. I plan to finish The Maidens within the next day or two, and then I will be filming my wrap-up. Short month, short reading list. So stay tuned for my wrap-up. Okay, here we are at my wrap-up. It was a bit of a shorter month, so I had a bit of a shorter reading list. I had 2 books to read for a different video, so I won't be discussing them here, but I will be mentioning them. I read 5 books this month. The first book that I read was for my 100 Epic Reads of a Lifetime poster, and that was The Little Prince, and I gave that one 5 stars. I thought it was just beautifully done, a really sweet, adorable children's book that helped teach many lessons, including the difference between adults and children and their worldview, and also learning to just take in all of the beauty in the world that a child might. I thought it was very well done, and I thought that it was more compelling than a lot of the other philosophy books that I had to read for my poster. My next book was an audiobook. I listened to A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson, and I have also given that book 5 stars. I would really like to own a copy of it someday. I just think that the descriptions were incredibly beautiful. I was compelled by the characters, all of their different relationship dynamics, and I really appreciated how dark and vampiric my vampires were in this book. That was great. And I also enjoyed that they were all very queer and polyamorous, and nobody was shamed for any of those desires. There was a little bit of romanticization of everything, but it was, like I said, to every part of the polyamorous relationship, so I didn't feel it was fetishizing in any way, which was good. And I am looking forward to a sequel. I believe that there was a sequel, so I'm excited to get into this world. The next 2 books that I read were Eclipse and Breaking Dawn, as part of my Reading the Twilight Saga for the very first time videos. I did not enjoy the other 2 parts of this series. I don't like them. I gave Eclipse 2 stars, and I gave Breaking Dawn 1 star. If you want to see my initial real-time reactions followed by my review and discussion on that, feel free to watch the video, which will be coming up on my channel in March. And then the final book that I read this month was The Maidens by Alex Michaelides. I ended up giving it 2.75 stars or 2.5 stars. I just think that this book fell very, very flat for me. I don't think I like the typical conventions of a thriller, and this book followed those conventions a little bit too closely. There wasn't a proper... The tone of it was very, very flat for me. I think that there wasn't enough good foreshadowing. All of the characters were a bit too dangerous and could have been the killer, when I should have been able to see their actions for themselves rather than framing everybody as a horrible, horrible possible monster and murderer. I hated that every man was in love with the protagonist. I hated that the maidens in this book didn't actually have a huge role in it. They were basically just victims, and I would have loved to see their character. The plot in this book was just very, very boring, and the plot twist for me fell very, very flat. I won't spoil it here, but there wasn't proper buildup of it. And when a character is not present in the story itself, it doesn't make sense for them to be part of the plan to me. I don't know, I just did not like this book and how it ended up. So that's it, that was my reading month. I'm not sure what I'm planning to do next month, but I hopefully will get to read more books. This month was just a bit too short to get everything in, and the Twilight Saga was 700 pages and 600 pages, so it was just a lot to deal with. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will hopefully see you in my next video or my next reading vlog. Bye bye!